Welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to each and every one of you. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day so far. Today I'm going to be going over and showing you guys my glass cannon pump action shotgun build for the Trickster. This build is entirely firepower focused, but has enough survivability to where you can face tank like never before. But before we jump into the video, I just want to say thank you guys very much for being here. I appreciate you guys. If you guys are new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button and stick around and hang out and enjoy your time here. I do stream on Twitch. I do have merch and Patreons and all that other fun stuff linked in the description down below. If you guys want to come hang out with me on Twitch, you guys totally can. I stream pretty much every day, and it's a big old good time, and we would love to see you there. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into this build. So this build is, again, like I said, a firepower glass cannon pump action shotgun build. What that means is our entire build is solely focused on making the gun in my hands right now, that pump action shotgun, hit for as hard as we possibly can get it to in one shot. That is the entire dedication to this build, is to make sure this gun can hit as hard as it possibly can in one shot. And we do a pretty good job of it too. So the gun we're currently using in my hands right now is Golem's Limb, but we are using another shotgun that is Death Shield. You don't have to use Death Shield with this build, by the way. It does help tremendously. As I'm sure you guys are all aware, Death Shield is just an amazing, amazing gun. If you have it, you'll get a lot of use out of it in this build. It'll be a very good addition to the build. But if you don't have a Death Shield, any automatic shotgun will do. Because the automatic shotgun is not our main weapon. It's our plan B. If we want to clear out a giant, horde of regular small little perforos and venomous perforos and stuff, then we switch to the automatic shotgun and we just clear the entire wave, and then we switch back to our pump action and we're good to go. So it's not like you need Death Shield. It is very helpful for this build, but it's not going to break the build if you don't have it. So our main weapon is, like I said, this shotgun right here. This shotgun is called Golem's Limb. If you've heard of this shotgun, you might have kind of chucked it to the side and pushed it off because you didn't think it was going to be useful. Because up until now, this build, this whole build looked a little bit different 3 days ago or 2 days ago, before the emergency stance fix and before they tweaked with armor and before that patch that made everything super one-shotting and everything hurts now. So this build looked a little different 3 days ago, but due to some tweaks that I made to the build, we are now able to get the same, if not greater damage as before, but we are able to face tank and be just as in your face as before without sacrificing any damage. So with this build, you shouldn't have to put on any defense mods, or if anything, you'll have maybe one just to kind of cover your ass a little bit. But outside of that one defense mod, you should be fine, because the main perk, the main reason we are using Golem's Limb specifically, this build, if there's one thing you need for this build, it is Golem's Limb and another mod I'll show you later down the road. So there's a mod and Golem's Limb that you need for this perk, or for this build to work. That is it. That's all you need. So Golem's Limb is required simply because it has Golem Rising on there. This mod says killing shots grant you protection Golem effect for 3 seconds on a 1 second cooldown. What this means, if you don't know what Golem is basically a skill the Devastators have that they cover themselves in armor and they become 65% resistant to everything. They become resistant to physical damage, anomaly damage, status damage like fire and stuff like that as well. They just become the tankiest thing on the planet for 65% at least. And you have this on your shotgun for 3 seconds. So you could imagine that with this build, because we are doing so much damage per shot, every time we shoot, we kill something. Every time we shoot, we gain Golem. Ta-da! So as long as you are constantly in your enemy's face, getting maximum damage, getting maximum killing, you have Golem. It's kind of like you have emergency stance, like post or pre-patch emergency stance, where it's just up all the time, except it only lasts for 3 seconds. That's the hard part about this build. It lasts for 3 seconds, which is perfectly fine if you're in a horde of enemies. But if you're surrounded by nothing but like 3 crawlers and a behemoth, that's where it gets kind of tricky, and you have to be very careful and play cautiously. This build is not gonna make you a god by any means in every situation ever. It's just gonna make it's gonna make this 95% easier, and it's gonna reduce those times you're one shot by, like I said, like 95%. You can still get one shot, especially if your Golem Rising effect wears off and you just don't have Golem anymore. You are back to being the squishiest thing with the durability of wet paper. So this build, if there's one way I can describe it, this build is extremely high risk, but high reward. If you can keep your Golem up, you are not literally invincible, but it's incredibly hard for you to die. It's incredibly hard. You can face tank the entire second room of frontline with all of those captains and with all those dudes around you. You can face tank the entire thing as long as you're killing stuff. You can face tank the first Broodmother encounter in Colosseum as long as you have Golem up. Like, this is enough to where you can survive way more than you were able to before. Golem is just that good. It's a really good effect. So moving on from Golem, the secondary perk we have on our shotgun is Killing Spree. This helps us out because our entire build is damage focused, and our first perk, Golem Rising, requires killing shots. So if we start killing things, we not only gain Golem, but we gain 25% weapon damage for 20 seconds, and that stacks up to 3 times. So if you kill one guy, you have 25%. You kill another guy, you have 50%. Kill another guy, you have 75% for 20 seconds. 75% damage. That's a lot of damage for 20 seconds. And the best part about that is you kill one guy, you have Golem. You kill the next guy, you continue to have Golem. You kill the next guy, you continue to have Golem. So it's like all you have to do is get one kill, and you are suddenly just, for 3 seconds, you can do whatever you want, basically. So Killing Spree is essential, and Killing Spree is what allows us to get the most damage out of a super defense shotgun that we can. And it also helps that Golem's Limb is naturally a standard variant pump action, which is the best kind. Breach is very underwhelming, and I really hope they tweak them sometime soon, because there's currently not a lot of reason to use a Breach variant shotgun because the damage is just so lackluster, and you have only 3 bullets in your clip, so it's not a lot. You only have 3 shells to work with. And here's the greatest thing about Golem's Limb is the reload time is only 2.1 seconds. So if you have Golem for 3 seconds, you have 0.8 seconds to get a kill after a reload. Which, let's be real here, that's not going to matter even more once you see the rest of the build. This whole build is based around never reloading. So it's like a worst case scenario that you will have 0.8 seconds to get your Golem back up. That's again like the worst case scenario. This whole build is based around not reloading either. So, and like I said, we are also running Death Shield, which again is not actually like, it's not needed for this build. It's incredibly useful. Don't get me wrong. Fortress is amazing. Putting Killing Spree on there, or any, like, you know, Embalmer's Rage or whatever, if you have that. I don't actually have Embalmer's Rage yet, but if you have that, putting that on there, you will just, it's so good. If you have a Death Shield, then this build can go even further for you, but if you don't have a Death Shield, that's okay. That's okay. You can just get a gun like this, with vulnerability bullets and perpetuum mobile, and, you know, change that to a narrow variant, and you're good to go. Like, just getting really any automatic shotgun is great. Like, that's just the automatic shotgun in the secondary slot is only really used as our plan B. If there's a giant horde of small little peripherals and you just want to get your clear times as fast as possible, instead of waiting for each pump of the shotgun and killing like 1 or 2 guys with each thing, just switch to your secondary and just blast them all away in like 4 shots, and then you're good to go. So this is kind of helping with that min-maxing those clear times a little bit. So it's really like these two go hand in hand, but you don't need Death Shield. You just don't. Fortress is really, really good, but it's not needed. And if you do want to use Death Shield and you want to maximize the Fortress perk here, or the Fortress mod here, you don't need like 200,000 armor. You need 50,000, which is like, as long as you're level 50 with your gear, all of it should have around 10,000 armor. That should be about what you have, is anywhere between like 48 and 55,000 armor, I think, is like in that range. That's good. That amount of armor anywhere in there takes full advantage of the 43% damage bonus from Fortress. So even a glass cannon like us can take full advantage of the Death Shield's Fortress mod, which is super heavy. That's why Death Shield is very useful here, is because even we can use that as a glass cannon. And to show you our stats, we have 202,000 firepower with Golem's Limb. And then if we go to the Death Shield, that only goes down to 199,000. And we have 44,000 anomaly power, 19,000 health, and 51,000 armor. And the rest of our stats look like this. If you are at all curious of our little character spreadsheet of stats here, there you go. I'll let that sit there for a second. There we go. So now we get to the fun part. So the fun part of this build is the armor, the skills, and somewhat of the class tree. So there's one perk on this armor that makes it just like, if you have it, oh my god, it's going to be amazing. And it's kind of like I said earlier, there's two things in this build that are necessary, and it's Golem's Limb and I forget where it is, this mod, Instant Reload. This Instant Reload mod comes from from this set, the Ugake Otara's cowl. So if you get the Ugake Otara's cowl, which is the headpiece, it's on the headpiece. You just break it down and you get instant reload. So Hunt the Prey, teleporting instantly replenishes your magazine in your current weapon. Getting this instant reload perk here, getting this one mod, is what allows us to swap out Perpetuum Mobile for Killing Spree on our Golem's Limb. That's what allows us to bring our damage even further, is because we don't need to waste a weapon slot on Perpetuum Mobile anymore. We can use that slot for something greater. So if you want to use Killing Spree, if you want to use Embalmer's Rage, if you want to use anything, you can put Bone Shrapnel on here if you want. You now have a free slot to do extra damage, because your Perpetuum Mobile, your instant reload perk, your infinite ammo perk or mod, sorry, I keep saying perk, your infinite ammo mod is now on instant reload. You now have just instant amazing ammo replenishing abilities from one mod. And so that definitely increases your damage, and because we have the defense mod from Golem, and we now have Killing Spree, our damage is even greater than it used to be with the previous build I was going to make a video on a few days ago. And to show you guys, to let you know what to look for armor if you want to make this build for your next Trickster or for your current Trickster, to let you know what to look out for, the God roll set you want to look for attributes here is bonus firepower, cooldown reduction, close range damage. Because of course bonus firepower will help us with things like weapon damage. Cooldown reduction allows us to use Hunt the Prey and Venator's Knife all the frickin' time. And close range damage is just a duh because shotguns. So yes. So those are the three attributes you want to look for. If you get all three of those on a piece, that is a god roll. Things like Sergio's Beret is really, 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 really good, but it's not a god roll because it has status power instead of close range damage. So it's not quite a god roll, but it's like good enough where it's like 99% there. So it's got bonus firepower, cooldown reduction, status power. And then the two mods are Sharp Eye, so killing enemies while aiming down the sights grants you 16,000 firepower for 20 seconds and stacks up to 3 times. Which is just, that's a lot of firepower. Plus you combine that with Bloodlust, which also comes naturally on the Beret here, where killing shots increase your firepower by 17,000, stacks up to 3 times. So not only, here's what we have, on killing enemies, if you just aim down your sights and you kill an enemy, you are gaining so much firepower, and you're gaining extra weapon damage, and you're gaining the Golem effect. So as long as you every now and then aim down your sights and you kill something, you're gaining insane firepower, you're gaining Golem, and you're gaining weapon damage. So you can kind of see how this build kind of flows together. And so the chest piece we're using, the chest piece I feel like could be swapped out for something even better. I will admit, I don't think I have the best chest piece available. I kind of want to get something that fits a little bit better, but this is again like a 95% thing. It's like it does pretty good for what it is, and it's just, yeah. So we have bonus firepower, cooldown reduction, healing received, which again, healing received should be swapped out for cooldown reduction. That would help even more with an extra 7 or 8% cooldown reduction. But then I put on, I actually overwrote the tier 3 mod that was on here because it just didn't fit for what I wanted to do with this. So I overrode that with Twisted Fate, so we get 30% critical damage bonus while the skill is active, and Hunt the Prey decreases the skill's cooldown by 20% for Dance of Death. So you can see that we're all about Twisted Rounds, we're all about Hunt the Prey, and we're all about Venator's Knife. Those are our 3 skills, which I'll get to later, and how they actually help us. So then I already showed you the pants, and the gloves have, again, bonus firepower, cooldown reduction, and close range damage. And I got lucky, and I got personal space on there naturally, so it grants me 15% bonus to close range weapon damage, and so I put on Captain Hunter, so we increase our elite damage by 25%. These gloves are, by all account, a god roll, and I will never break these down because they are that good. These are what I would consider a god roll for our build. And now for the boots, we have, again, bonus firepower, close range damage, cooldown reduction. These boots, I feel like these boots are good. Like, they're good, but I feel like there could be something better out there. You know, like, I kind of just want to switch out barrel roll for something else. It's really, really good for what we do. That's the thing. Barrel roll increases your firepower by 28,000 for the first shot after executing a roll. So as long as you're rolling and you aim down the sights and you kill something, you are gaining like 75,000 firepower or something crazy. I have to do the math. I'll put the math up on screen here in post production. But like, barrel roll is a good perk, but I feel like there could be something else out there that could go in this slot that would make even greater use. So this build isn't even like perfect. There is still much room to grow with this build. The only issue is you have to find the perfect god roll attributes of bonus firepower, close range damage, cooldown reduction. And the top mod there is another really, really good mod. This is our only defense mod. This is it. Besides the golem thing on our shotgun, this is our only defense mod. This is such a good one. I forget where you get this one. I think it's on... I'll have to look it up. I'll put it on screen. I'll tell you what armor it's from so you know what to look out for if you don't have this mod yet. But it's Life Drain. So with Twisted Rounds, while the skill is active, killing shots heal you by 15% of your target's health. So on paper, that may not sound very good until you realize that on the challenge tier 15, the highest tier available, enemies have like 1 million health. That's 150,000 health that you're taking from them. And it gets even more when you have 2 or 3 people. So that 15% is just astronomically high. Every time you kill something, if you were even a little bit down on health, you get full health. If you're about to die, you kill something, you get basically full health. Like, you should be getting instantly healed every single time with this perk. Like, this is your one defense mod, which, combining that with golem protection, makes you damn near unkillable, and it's so good. It's a perfect combination, because then you have the health regen for if anything goes through your shield and through your golem and you are taking damage and stuff. This life drain perk, this life drain mod, should keep you alive enough every time it's just, the combination is godlike. So now for skills. Our main skills here is Twisted Rounds, which you all know Twisted Rounds increases our firepower by 15,000, and it has a 17-second cooldown. But here's the thing. Here's how this works, is you activate Twisted Rounds, and then that's it. So once you activate Twisted Rounds, basically you never need to wait for the cooldown because we have instant reload on there. So how this works is once you activate Twisted Rounds and you teleport behind an enemy with Hunt the Prey, which is on a 5.2 second cooldown. So you activate Twisted Rounds and then you start killing things, and when you get down to like the last, shot or something, the last 1 or 2 shots, you just teleport behind the enemy and you have a full 9 shots again. And then basically that combination allows you to have infinite twisted rounds all the time without having Perpetuum Mobile. This is like Perpetuum Mobile on steroids, because Perpetuum Mobile is really, really, really good, except for the fact that it only triggers on 35% ammo on a killing shot. Whereas this mod over here for instant reload teleports you behind the enemy, and so gives you backstab damage and replenishes your magazine just by teleporting. So you don't have to kill anything, even though you won't have issues with that, with killing something on the first shot. Like, you won't have issues with that. It just makes it a little easier to guarantee that you have that ammo regen, because you just have to teleport behind the enemy and you're good to go. And then of course you have Venator's Knife, which allows us to mark like 5 enemies, slow them down, they take a little bit of damage, and then each enemy that gets marked by your knife takes double damage. That's the thing we're using Venator's Knife for. If you guys don't really know how Venator's Knife works, if you guys aren't like a Trickster main yet, you guys are just looking into it to see what build you want to go for, basically Twisted Rounds goes through any armor. It like all anomaly infused bullets like that, like toxic rounds and volcanic rounds. Twisted Rounds is the same thing, where pretty much every enemy only has like a 3% resistance to anomaly rounds. They go through all armor, so even if you walk up to an ironclad, you're gonna one-shot him. You're gonna just demolish him in one shot. So Twisted Rounds plus Venator's Knife, which allows you to mark 5 enemies, dealing a small amount of damage, and then they get inflicted with slow. So you can stagger people out of charging up something. So if you see a captain doing like a fireball or whatever they do, you can throw your knife at them and stagger them, and then run up to them while they're slowed, and they take double damage on that first shot. Which, as you can tell, for our build is insane, because we're already going to be dealing like 1 million damage per shot, so then it becomes 2 million damage per shot. So these combination of skills are really great. And then once you get down to low ammo, you just do Hunt the Prey to the target, and you get the backstab damage because you're behind them, but you also get to refill your Twisted Rounds ammo and all that. It's just it's a great setup here for skills. Okay, so now for the class tree. This is the class tree, which is just a pretty basic top tree assassin build for your setup here. The only thing that you could swap out, which as you can tell we went very much so for the close range damage. Anytime there's weapon damage at all, we went for backstab, weapon damage, all that stuff like that. We went for all of it. We just went for all damage. That's the entire purpose of this build, is to go full shotgun damage, backstab damage, weapon damage, everything like that. And then we got Ace of Trumps, which increases armor piercing by 10%, just because we don't need Bullet Storm, because we don't reload. We don't reload, and here's the thing. I'll try to include some footage on screen of me doing this, but you actually don't want really quick reload times for one reason. For one simple reason. If you're like me, you're a big giant dum-dum, and you honestly forget to teleport behind enemies to replenish your magazine with instant reload. So what I've done is I have forgotten to teleport to replenish my Twisted Rounds, and so I'm in the middle of my reload animation. And so what you can do is you can melee to delay the reload, and then after you melee, you just teleport, and it saves you. So if you were to increase your reload times, or decrease them rather, by 20%, that would make it even harder to save yourself if you mess up like that. It's a little bit of like a fail-safe, if you will. Like, I do that constantly, because I always forget. I'm so used to having Perpetuum Mobile that I'm still getting used to not needing to teleport all the time. So now I'm having to repeat the teleport process just to reload. And so this, not having Bullet Storm in there for the increased reload times, or the decreased reload times, is kind of helpful in that one aspect. And theoretically, if you don't mess up, you should never need to reload. So we can put that extra point into Ace of Trumps here. The only perk that I would actually recommend switching out if you want to is this one. So when your damage skills end, it increases your weapon damage by 35% for 8 seconds. This one I you could take this point out and put it over here for equilibrium for an even faster hunt the prey cooldown, which I don't see why not. The only reason I have this one on there is because, again, if I somehow forget to switch weapons and I don't manage to pull off the melee teleport thing to save my ammo, if I lose twisted rounds, I still want to keep my damage up as high as possible. So I put that on there just because I'm a big idiot. But if you're less of a big idiot, then you can take the Scion of PowerPoint and put it into equilibrium, and you get even faster cooldown by 15%. And your Hunt the Prey is already 5.2 seconds, so it's going to be under 5 seconds, I believe, is what that should go down to. It should be around 5 seconds for your cooldown for Hunt the Prey, which is just ridiculously short. And so, of course, we have the Shotgun Master perk here, which is just, yeah, you just need that. And then, of course, activating your Deception skills increases weapon damage by 35%, which is huge because we use Venator's Knife as often as we possibly can because it already gives us double damage. So now it gives us that double damage plus 35% for 8 seconds. And, of course, we get Arms Trick for the close range damage, and we get Deadly Shadow for the critical damage because our criticals are freaking nuts. Our criticals are the reason that we are able to one-shot certain enemies. And if you're playing with friends, I'll include some footage here of me playing with like random people and me playing with friends or whatever, where my critical hits are in the like 4 million, 5 million range. Or here's the craziest thing is if you are playing with, you know, debuffing pyros that give you like 75% or 200% or whatever, if you're playing with any build that gives you more damage, I've hit a 35 million crit with this build. That's how crazy our damage is, especially when playing with friends. Like, this build works even in a group when they have more health. And if you're playing with a debuff pyro or two debuff pyros, your damage just becomes ridiculous, and it's just as easy as playing alone. Like, that's how much the damage increase is. And of course we have Singularity here to decrease the cooldown of our Deception skills even further, so it's really good there. And of course we have Outrider Executioner, so activating our movement skills increases our weapon damage by 35%. This is again huge because we are all the time using Hunt the Prey. We are just using it as much as we can because we're getting our twisted rounds back up, and we get the backstab damage, and we get all the other stuff on top of that as well. So outside of those, it's a really standard perk. You can get Bounty Hunter here for the increased weapon damage against elites, which is really helpful. The Oddity Summation that's the reason that we have 9 shots instead of only 6 for Golem's Limb, which is really helpful. So I definitely recommend putting a point here to get that extra magazine because that just equals more killing, which equals less worry about your ammo. And of course, Shotgun Adept, which increases shotgun weapon damage. And then Cold Calculation is really good. All this is extremely standard for your assassin tree here. So it's just, we didn't actually make it up to here for the weapon leech, but we actually don't need transfusion simply because our boots have life drain on them. So we get the health regen from this. We don't even need weapon life leech at all. Like, our main weapon has skill life leech, which is kind of useless, but at the same time, like we get enough health regen from life drain that we don't need any other health regen out there. So that's, I hope I went through enough detail. That's kind of the entire build in a nutshell. And like, this entire build, like I've been saying, is all about doing as much damage as you can per shot while also being as tanky as possible. So if you're all about doing single target damage with huge crazy numbers and being kind of tanky at the same time, this is going to be an extremely good build for you. The only downside to this build is it does have a few requirements to it before it's really good. Like I said earlier, the 2 requirements that I would say is Golem's Limb here because of the Golem effect that it gives you, and then possibly the instant reload here. You don't even need to have life drain. So here's another alternative, that if you don't have life drain and you just haven't been able to get whatever piece it comes on, I'll again put the item name on screen here so you can see where it comes from. But if you don't have life drain, I would highly recommend putting Mitigation from Death here, which should, in theory, help you. because it's an armor increase, but as we've seen with some of the videos on Reddit or Twitter or wherever you go, even on YouTube, armor isn't the greatest thing to stack right now. You need more resistance. So in that case, I would recommend having this perk. Circle of Power boosts your resistance by 15% every time you use a skill, stacking up to 3 times. So you get 45% resistance every time you use a skill, and it deteriorates every 7 seconds. So theoretically, because we are using Hunt the Prey and Venator's Knife as much as we can, and they're only on like a 4 to 5 second cooldown for pretty much all of them, we are continuously going to be stacking resistance. So if you don't have Life Drain, another really good one to put on here is Circle of Power. These ones, I believe, are from the Cannonball Pants or Chestplate, one of the two. That's the Cannonball set, I believe, is where it's come from. So if you don't even have Circle of Power, then I would recommend Life of the Party, which reduces incoming damage by 3% for each enemy in close range, stacking up to 8 times. So that's what, 24% reduced damage. And the reason that Life of the Party works so well as an alternative is because, let me explain that the reason Golem works so well isn't because it's like a resistance to a certain type of damage or whatever. It's a generalized damage, like the damage you're taking is being reduced by 65% across the board. So everything you're getting hit by is 65% less damaging than before. It's not like on killing shots you have like 15,000 more armor. It's a across the board damage reduction. Same with Life of the Party. And because of how close range we are, being surrounded by everything all the time, this should be a 24% general damage reduction, and it should be incredibly useful for this build as well. And if you don't have any tier 3 mods yet, because you're still kind of earning up to those tier 3s, then I do have some recommendations in tier 2 as well. So the first and foremost is still Emergency Stance. Like, even though it's fixed and working as intended, it still actually is a really good one to have. That it's still a good mod, and I'm still going to recommend it for the future because it's still good, but there are much better mods to use right now. And for Trickster, one of the best defense mods you can use is Perseverance Shield. This one allows you to get an 8,875 point shield whenever you drop below 30% health. So this one is really great as a Trickster because if you drop below 30% health, you get that shield, and then as a Trickster, when you're in close range, you gain like, what, 20% shield, I believe, every time you kill something. So you get that giant shield boost, and then as you keep killing stuff, you will maintain that shield. So it's actually really good. And shield, for those who don't know, the shield mechanic in this game blocks, as far as I'm aware, it blocks all physical damage, not anomaly damage. It just blocks all physical damage like bullets and stuff. So having a shield is really, really helpful against things like the Boomtown entrance. It's just very helpful. So another good one you can actually use is Diffuse, where sprinting increases your armor by 42,000 and resistance by 50%. The only issue is you have to be sprinting. So if you're running away from an encounter or you're running around all the time, this might actually help you a decent chunk. But the second you stop moving, it goes away. So it's a good one to use. The only criteria is it's sprinting, and that kind of ruins it a little bit. So it's still not bad though. And if you're playing with friends or constantly doing matchmaking, Ultimate Paragon is actually a really good one to use. It gives you an extra 40,000 armor for each ally in close range, which is really, really good if you guys like to work as a group, which you should for the higher tiers. So not a bad one at all. But I think the overall best defense mod you can have, or at least one of the best defense mods you can have right now, is Mitigation from Death. This one gives you 45,000 points of armor for 10 seconds every time you kill an enemy while aiming down the sights. And it can stack up to 3 times. So you're pretty much going to have constantly over like 120,000 armor at all times, which is like a 75 or 80% damage reduction just naturally from your armor. The only issue with Mitigation from Death is armor does not protect you from anomaly damage. That's where resistance comes in. all of this is just kind of helping you survive the today's environment of Outriders, because it's severely different than what it used to be, and it's incredibly hard to survive for most builds, and especially for Tricksters. That's why I wanted to make this build for you guys, is to help us fellow Tricksters survive. So on the screen right now, I'm going to put up a giant summary of every weapon that we have, every armor that we have, and some recommendations for mods, some requirements that we may have, or strongly recommended items that we have on that really helped us build, and just I'll show you guys again the skills and class tree in an image, so you guys can go ahead and just record a little bit of the video or take a screenshot or something and kind of have it for future reference if you guys want to do that. I know that's super helpful for some of you guys. But yeah, once again, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching this video. I hope this helped. I hope this gave you guys some good food for thought, some good fuel for your build, and good luck surviving out there, guys. It is freaking rough in Outriders right now. But again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. If you guys are new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I do plan on making more Outriders content in the future. So if you guys want to hit the subscribe button for that, feel free to do so. If you guys want to go check out my Twitch link in the description, I will probably be streaming some Outriders as well. So if you guys want to come hang out, you guys can do that. I do have a Patreon where you guys can support my videos. If you guys want me to do more of these big, long, lengthy videos and stuff, you guys can go subscribe over there or support me on there, whatever you want to phrase it as. And we also do have some merch and everything, and you guys can go follow me on Twitter. All those fun links will be in the description down below. And I hope this helped you guys. Thank you very much for watching, and good luck out there, Outriders.